narrative of history, the Byzantine Empire during the reign of Justinian stands as a testament to the endurance of Roman civilization in the East. After the fall of the Western Roman Empire, the eastern half, centered in the majestic city of Constantinople, emerged as a bastion of power, culture, and ambition. Under the rule of Justinian in the 6th century, this empire found itself at a pivotal moment, teetering between the legacy of its glorious past and the pressing challenges of the present. Amidst this backdrop of ambition and uncertainty, one of history's greatest military figures rose to prominence: Flavius Belisarius. Belisarius was not just a general, he was a symbol of the enduring strength and ingenuity of Rome. His campaigns, spanning the vast and diverse regions of North Africa, Italy, and the eastern frontiers, would come to define the era. Through his strategic brilliance and unwavering loyalty to the empire, Belisarius became a legend, his name etched in the annals of history. Welcome to the ASMR History Channel. I'm delighted that you're here to join me on a journey through the past, where we'll explore the rich tapestry of history in a way that's both immersive and soothing. Today, we're diving into one of the most captivating periods of the Eastern Roman Empire, also known as the Byzantine Empire, during the reign of Emperor Justinian. As we delve into the epic tale of Justinian's ambitions and the incredible military genius of his trusted general Belisarius, I invite you to settle in, relax, and let the gentle flow of history guide you through this extraordinary story. The wars of Justinian were far more than mere military campaigns. They were the embodiment of Justinian's grand vision to restore the Roman Empire to its former glory. As a ruler, Justinian harboured a dream that seemed almost impossible: the reclamation of territories lost to barbarian invasions and the restoration of the empire to its ancient splendour. His ambitions were not just about expanding borders, they were about reviving the grandeur of Rome itself, a feat that would require not only vast resources and strategic alliances, but also the skill of a military leader capable of turning the tide of history. This is where Belisarius, with his unparalleled military acumen, entered the scene. At the beginning of Justinian's reign, the Byzantine Empire was a formidable yet fragile state. The Western Roman Empire had long since fallen, leaving the Eastern Empire to carry the torch of Roman civilization. Despite its strength, the Byzantine Empire faced numerous threats. The Ostrogoths controlled Italy, the Vandals ruled over North Africa, and the Persians presented a constant danger on the eastern frontier. Internally, the empire was strained by economic difficulties, religious conflicts, and the aftermath of the devastating Nika riots, which had nearly toppled Justinian's rule. In this precarious environment, Justinian's ambitions seemed almost audacious. He sought nothing less than the restoration of the Roman Empire, a dream that required a leader capable of not only winning battles, but also navigating the complex political landscapes of the territories he sought to reclaim. It was in this challenging context that Belisarius emerged as Justinian's most trusted general, embodying the qualities of loyalty, strategic brilliance, and the ability to achieve the impossible. The enemies that Justinian faced were formidable and diverse. control of the Italian peninsula was a direct challenge to Justinian's imperial ambitions. To the south, the Vandals, a Germanic tribe that had crossed into Roman territory decades earlier, had established a powerful kingdom in North Africa. Carthage, their capital, was a rich and strategic prize that Justinian could not afford to ignore. On the eastern frontier, the Sassanid Empire of Persia posed a constant threat, with its powerful armies and skilled generals challenging Byzantine dominance. Each of these adversaries represented a unique and daunting challenge, and it would require all of Justinian's cunning, coupled with Belisarius's military genius, to overcome them. Belisarius's campaigns would take him from the sands of North Africa to the rolling hills of Italy and the harsh landscapes of the eastern frontiers. His victories, often against overwhelming odds, would become the stuff of legend. Whether it was the swift and decisive defeat of the Vandals in North Africa, the protracted and grueling campaign against the Ostrogoths in Italy, or the stalwart defence against the Persians in the east, Belisarius's military prowess was unmatched. His ability to achieve the seemingly impossible, reclaiming vast territories and restoring Roman order, cemented his place in history as one of the greatest generals of all time. As we continue our exploration of this remarkable period, we'll see how the wars of Justinian, under the command of Belisarius, were not just battles for territory, but struggles to define the future of the Roman legacy. The story of Belisarius is one of courage, loyalty, and the relentless pursuit of a vision that shaped the course of history. Through his campaigns, we glimpse the complexities and challenges of an empire striving to reclaim its place in the world, a story that resonates through the ages. Flavius Belisarius was born around 500 AD in the region of Thrace, a land nestled between the Balkans and the Black Sea, known for its rugged landscapes and hardy people. Though the exact details of his early life remain shrouded in mystery, it is widely believed that Belisarius hailed from a modest background, perhaps from a family of military tradition. The sparse records suggest a youth spent learning the ways of war, honing the skills that would later define his extraordinary career. In a time when the Roman Empire was but a shadow of its former self, and the Eastern Empire fought to maintain its dominance, Belisarius's birth would prove to be a turning point in the fortunes of Rome. As a young man, Belisarius found himself drawn to the military, entering the ranks of the Byzantine army at a time when the empire desperately needed capable leaders. Serving under Emperor Justinian I, who reigned from 518 to 527 AD, Belisarius quickly distinguished himself in the military campaigns of the period. His early service, though relatively unremarkable in scope, provided him with invaluable experience on the battlefield. It was here, in the gritty and unforgiving world of Roman warfare, that Belisarius began to develop the tactical brilliance that would later earn him a place among history's greatest generals. What set Belisarius apart from his peers was not just his competence in battle, but a rare combination of strategic insight and an innate ability to inspire his troops. These qualities did not go unnoticed. As he served on the front lines, Belisarius demonstrated a knack for turning the tide of battle in favour of the Byzantines, even when the odds were stacked against them. His leadership was marked by a keen understanding of both the broader strategic objectives and the immediate needs of his soldiers. This dual focus on the big picture and the fine details would become a hallmark of his military career, earning him rapid promotions through the ranks. By the time Justinian descended to the throne in 527 AD, Belisarius had already proven himself to be one of the most capable military leaders of his generation. Recognizing his potential, Justinian brought him into his inner circle, entrusting him with the defense and expansion of the empire. Belisarius' loyalty to Justinian was absolute, and it was this loyalty that played a crucial role in securing the emperor's position during the early, tumultuous years of his reign. One of the most significant episodes in Belisarius' early service under Justinian was his involvement in quelling the Nika riots of 532 AD. This massive uprising in Constantinople threatened to overthrow Justinian as factions of the city's population revolted against the emperor's rule. The city descended into chaos, and it seemed that Justinian's reign might be cut short. However, it was Belisarius, alongside another trusted general, who led the imperial forces to crush the rebellion. In a decisive and brutal response, they restored order to the capital, ensuring Justinian's continued rule and solidifying Belisarius' reputation as a general of unwavering resolve and effectiveness. Following the Nika riots, Belisarius' star continued to rise as he embarked on a series of military campaigns that would solidify his reputation as one of the most skilled generals of the Byzantine Empire. These early campaigns, though not yet the grand conquests that would later define his career, were critical in developing his strategic acumen and his ability to command large and diverse armies. Each victory brought with it greater responsibilities, and with each campaign, Belisarius demonstrated an uncanny ability to adapt to new challenges and overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Belisarius' service under Justinian also saw him involved in numerous skirmishes along the eastern borders of the empire, particularly against the Sassanid Persians, who were a constant thorn in the side of the Byzantines. These engagements, though smaller in scale compared to what was to come, were pivotal in shaping Belisarius' understanding of warfare and his approach to military leadership. His ability to lead his men with a steady hand, even in the face of overwhelming odds, became legendary among the troops, further cementing his position as Justinian's most trusted general. As the dust settled from these early years of service, Belisarius stood, poised on the brink of even greater achievements. His loyalty, skill, and determination had secured him a place in the emperor's inner circle, and his reputation as a brilliant military commander was now firmly established. But the greatest challenges of his career were still to come. With the empire's internal threats subdued, and his military acumen proven time and again, Belisarius was ready to embark on one of the most ambitious campaigns of Justinian's reign, the reconquest of the former Roman territories in the west, starting with the Vandalic kingdom in North Africa. This campaign would not only test his strategic genius, but also set the stage for his enduring legacy as one of history's most remarkable generals. The Vandalic War, one of the most significant military campaigns of Emperor Justinian's reign, had its roots in the early 5th century when the Vandals, a Germanic tribe, swept across Europe and North Originally from the regions along the Danube River, the Vandals had been pushed westward by the Huns, eventually crossing into the Roman Empire in 406 AD. After a period of wandering through Gaul and Spain, they crossed the Strait of Gibraltar into North Africa under the leadership of their formidable king, Genseric, in 429 AD. This move marked the beginning of the Vandals' dominance in the region, a dominance that would persist for over a century. The conquest of North Africa by the Vandals was swift and brutal. By 439 AD, Genseric had captured Carthage, the crown jewel of Roman North Africa, and a city of immense strategic and economic importance. Carthage, with its excellent harbour and fertile hinterlands, was a vital source of grain and other resources for the Western Roman Empire. The loss of this city was a devastating blow to Rome, not only economically, but also symbolically, as it marked the beginning of the empire's decline in the West. Genseric, a shrewd and ruthless leader, consolidated his power, establishing a Vandal kingdom that stretched from modern-day Morocco to western Libya. Under his rule, the Vandals became a formidable naval power, launching raids across the Mediterranean, even sacking Rome itself in 455 AD, an event that shocked the ancient world and solidified the Vandals' reputation as one of the most feared barbarian tribes. By the time Justinian ascended to the throne in 527 AD, the Vandal kingdom was a well-established power in North Africa. However, it was also a kingdom in decline. Internally, the Vandals were beset by religious and political strife. The kingdom, predominantly Arian Christian, was plagued by tensions with the Catholic majority among the local Roman population, leading to frequent unrest and rebellion. Moreover, the succession of less capable rulers after Genseric's death had weakened the Vandal hold on power. These internal divisions made the kingdom vulnerable to external threats and provided Justinian with the perfect opportunity to strike. For the Byzantine Empire, North Africa was of immense strategic importance. The region's fertile lands had once supplied the grain that fed the vast armies and cities of the Roman Empire. Control over North Africa meant control over these critical resources. Moreover, North Africa's geographic position made it a key point of influence over the Western Mediterranean. The Vandal naval dominance threatened Byzantine trade routes and posed a continuous threat to Sicily and southern Italy. Justinian, with his grand vision of restoring the Roman Empire to its former glory, saw the reconquest of North Africa as not just a military necessity, but as a symbolic act that would affirm his authority and the continuity of Roman power. The reclamation of Carthage and the restoration of Roman rule in the region would be a clear statement that the empire, despite the fall of its western half, was still a force to be reckoned with. The decision to launch an invasion of North Africa was not one Justinian took lightly. The empire was still recovering from the Nika riots of 532 AD, a massive civil uprising that had nearly toppled Justinian's rule. Additionally, the ongoing wars with the Sassanid Persians on the eastern frontier demanded significant resources and attention. Despite these challenges, Justinian was determined to press forward. The opportunity presented by the internal instability within the Vandal kingdom was too great to ignore. He believed that a swift and decisive campaign could reclaim the lost provinces with minimal cost. The preparation for the invasion was meticulous, reflecting the seriousness with which Justinian approached the campaign. He appointed Belisarius, his most trusted and capable general, to lead the invasion. Belisarius, who had already proven his worth during the suppression of the Nika riots and in campaigns against the Persians, was tasked with assembling and commanding an invasion force that would sail across the Mediterranean and strike at the heart of the Vandal kingdom. The logistics of such a campaign were daunting. The Byzantine Empire had to gather a large enough force to ensure victory, while also maintaining a strong defence along its other frontiers. The invasion force consisted of approximately 15,000 soldiers, including infantry, cavalry, and a contingent of Hunnic and Arulian mercenaries. In addition to the soldiers, the fleet was composed of around 500 ships, including transports and warships, which were necessary to both ferry the troops across the sea and to protect them from potential Vandal naval attacks. The fleet was stocked with provisions for a long campaign, as Justinian and Belisarius both knew that a swift victory could not be guaranteed, and the army might have to endure a protracted struggle in hostile territory. Belisarius also carefully planned the strategy for the invasion. Understanding that a direct assault on Carthage could be too risky, he opted for a more cautious approach. The plan was to land the army at a location away from the main centres of Vandal power, allowing the Byzantine forces to establish a secure foothold before advancing on Carthage. Belisarius' strategy emphasised speed, surprise, and the careful management of resources. He aimed to capitalise on the element of surprise, hoping to catch the Vandals off guard and to use the internal divisions within the kingdom to his advantage. The naval journey to North Africa was a perilous one. The Mediterranean Sea, while a highway for trade and communication, was also fraught with dangers. Storms, pirates, and the ever-present threat of Vandal ships made the journey a tense one. However, Belisarius' fleet managed to cross the sea without encountering significant resistance. The fleet, after a journey that must have been filled with both anticipation and anxiety, finally reached the coast of North Africa, near the ancient city of Leptis Magna, in late summer of 533 AD. Belisarius' strategic approach to the landing was marked by his characteristic caution and foresight. He chose Leptis Magna for its relative isolation from the main Vandal forces and its suitability as a staging ground for further operations. Upon landing, Belisarius immediately set about fortifying his position. He knew that the success of the entire campaign hinged on establishing a strong, defensible base from which to launch his attacks on the Vandals. The landing itself was conducted with the efficiency and discipline that had come to characterise Belisarius' command. Troops were disembarked quickly and organised into defensive positions, while the ships were anchored in a way that allowed for rapid evacuation if necessary. In the initial engagements, Belisarius' forces met with only minimal resistance. The Vandals, caught off guard by the sudden appearance of a large Byzantine army on their shores, were slow to respond. Local Roman populations, long oppressed under Vandal rule, were quick to offer their support to the Byzantines, providing advantage of winning over the local population not only bolstered his forces, but also weakened Vandal morale, as the Vandals realised that they could not rely on the loyalty of their subjects. With a secure beachhead established and initial objectives met, Belisarius began to prepare for the next phase of the campaign, the march on Carthage. However, before he could advance, he needed to ensure that his rear was secure and that his supply lines were protected. The invasion of North Africa had begun, but the real test of Belisarius' skill and Justinian's ambition was still to come, as the Byzantine forces prepared to take on the full might of the Vandal kingdom in the battles that would follow. The turning point of the Vandalic War came at the Battle of Decimum, a clash that would not only decide the fate of Carthage, but also determine the future of North Africa. As Belisarius led his forces closer to Carthage, the Vandal king Gelimer, realising the gravity of the threat, marshalled his troops for a decisive confrontation. The battle was set to take place near the town of Decimum, just 10 miles south of Carthage. Gelimer's plan was to ambush the Byzantine forces by splitting his army into 3 separate contingents, hoping to encircle and crush Belisarius' advancing troops. Belisarius, however, had proven time and again his ability to anticipate and counter the strategies of his enemies. As the battle unfolded on September 13th, 533 AD, his tactical brilliance shone through. The Vandal forces, led by Gelimer's brother Amatas, launched an early attack, aiming to catch the Byzantines off guard. But Belisarius had already positioned his forces in a way that allowed them to absorb the initial shock of the Vandal charge, while maintaining the integrity of their lines. As Amatas's contingent was met with fierce resistance, it became clear that the Vandals were not prepared for the disciplined and coordinated defence mounted by Belisarius' troops. The second phase of the battle saw Belisarius cleverly exploiting the terrain and the disarray among the Vandal ranks. When the main Vandal force under Gelimer arrived on the battlefield, they found Amatas's forces scattered and weakened. Rather than pressing his advantage, Gelimer made a critical error. He paused the battle upon discovering that his brother Amatas had been killed in the initial skirmish. This moment of hesitation allowed Belisarius to regroup and launch a counterattack. The Byzantine forces, seizing the initiative, pushed back the disoriented Vandals with a series of well-coordinated cavalry charges. The Vandal army, unable to reorganise and shaken by the death of Amatas, began to retreat in disarray. The victory at Decimum was not just a military triumph, it was a psychological blow to the Vandals. Gelimer's carefully laid plans had been thwarted, and his forces had been routed by an enemy they had underestimated. The battle demonstrated the superiority of Byzantine tactics and the effectiveness of Belisarius' leadership. By winning this engagement, Belisarius effectively opened the road to Carthage, undermining the Vandal king's authority and morale. The battle's outcome sent shockwaves through the region, signalling that the Byzantine Empire was once again a formidable force to be reckoned with in the Western Mediterranean. Following the decisive victory at Decimum, Belisarius wasted no time in marching his forces toward Carthage. The city, once the jewel of Roman North Africa, was now within reach. and its capture would be the crowning achievement of the campaign. As Belisarius approached Carthage, the remnants of the Vandal army were in no position to mount a serious defence. Gelimer, demoralised and desperate, retreated with what remained of his forces, leaving Carthage vulnerable to the advancing Byzantines. On September the 15th, 533 AD, Belisarius entered Carthage without encountering significant resistance. The city's inhabitants, many of whom had long chafed under Vandal rule, greeted the Byzantine general as a liberator. For Belisarius, the entry into Carthage was a moment of triumph, not just for himself, but for the Byzantine Empire as a whole. The capture of Carthage was more than a strategic victory. It was a powerful symbol of the empire's resurgence. Belisarius's careful handling of the city's capture further cemented his reputation. He issued strict orders to his troops to respect the lives and property of the citizens, avoiding the looting and destruction that often accompanied the fall of a city. This discipline won him the support of the local population and ensured a smooth transition of power. With Carthage securely in Byzantine hands, Belisarius turned his attention to consolidating control over the rest of North Africa. The fall of the city marked the beginning of the end for the Vandal kingdom, but the war was not yet over. Gelimer, though defeated, had not given up. He retreated inland, rallying his remaining forces and attempting to regroup for a final stand. Belisarius, however, was relentless in his pursuit. Over the next few months, he moved systematically through the region, securing key towns and fortresses, cutting off Vandal supply lines, and neutralising pockets of resistance. His strategy was to isolate Gelimer and prevent him from gathering enough strength to launch a counter-offensive. The final confrontation between the Byzantines and the Vandals occurred in December 533 AD at the Battle of Tricamarum, located about 30 miles west of Carthage. Gelimer, recognising that this was his last chance to reclaim his kingdom, mustered all the forces he could for a decisive battle. However, Belisarius, with his characteristic strategic acumen, had already anticipated Gelimer's moves. The battle was fierce but brief. The Byzantine cavalry, under Belisarius's direct command, delivered a crushing blow to the Vandal forces, breaking their lines and sending them into a full retreat. Gelimer, seeing that the battle was lost, fled once more, this time into the rugged mountains of Numidia. With the defeat at Tricamarum, the Vandalic kingdom was effectively destroyed. Gelimer's flight marked the end of organised Vandal resistance in North Africa. In March 534 AD, Gelimer, realising the futility of further resistance, surrendered to Belisarius, who treated him with the dignity befitting a fallen king. The once mighty Vandal kingdom, which had dominated the western Mediterranean for nearly a century, was no more. North Africa, a region that had been lost to the Roman Empire for generations, was now firmly under Byzantine control. The significance of the Vandalic War extended far beyond the borders of North Africa. For Justinian, the war was a major step toward his ultimate goal of restoring the Roman Empire to its former glory. The reconquest of North Africa not only secured vital resources for the Byzantine Empire, but also also reasserted Byzantine dominance in the Mediterranean. The victory demonstrated that the empire, under Justinian's rule, was capable of projecting its power far beyond its borders and reclaiming lost territories. For Belisarius, the Vandalic War was a defining moment in his career. His leadership throughout the campaign had been nothing short of exemplary. He had faced a formidable enemy in difficult terrain, and yet he had consistently outmaneuvered and outthought his opponents. His victories in North Africa solidified his reputation as one of the greatest generals of his time, and earned him the enduring loyalty of his troops and the respect of his peers. However, the end of the Vandalic War also marked the beginning of new challenges for Belisarius and the Byzantine Empire. The process of rebuilding and integrating North Africa into the empire would be arduous, and there were still other regions that Justinian sought to reclaim. Even as the dust settled in North Africa, Belisarius's attention would soon be drawn to the next great challenge, another campaign that would test his skills and determination: the Gothic War in Italy. This conflict would prove to be even more complex and demanding than the Vandalic War, as Belisarius would once again lead the Byzantine forces into the heart of a fallen empire, seeking to restore Roman rule over a land that had been lost to barbarian kings. The Gothic War, one of the most challenging and protracted conflicts of Justinian's reign, was not merely a struggle for territory, but a battle for the very soul of the Roman Empire. At the heart of this war was the Ostrogothic kingdom in Italy, a realm that had risen from the ashes of the Western Roman Empire's collapse. After the fall of Rome in 476 AD, the Ostrogoths, a Germanic tribe led by their king Theodoric the Great, established a kingdom in Italy that managed to preserve many aspects of Roman civilization, while also introducing their own distinct culture. Theodoric's reign, which began in 493 AD, was marked by a careful balancing act. He maintained Roman administrative structures and laws, employed Roman officials, and promoted a policy of coexistence between his Gothic warriors and the Roman population. This approach allowed Italy to experience a period of relative stability and prosperity, despite the underlying tensions between the Gothic and Roman elites. However, the death of Theodoric in 526 AD led to a rapid decline in the kingdom's fortunes. Theodoric's successors lacked his vision and authority, and the kingdom soon became mired in internal strife and political intrigue. The once stable Ostrogothic rule began to fracture as various factions vied for power. The situation was further complicated by religious differences. While the Ostrogoths were Arian Christians, the majority of the Roman population in Italy remained loyal to the Nicene Creed of Catholicism. This religious divide created deep-seated resentments and further weakened the cohesion of the kingdom. By the time Justinian ascended to the Byzantine throne in 527 AD, the Ostrogothic kingdom, once a formidable power, was in a state of disarray, its authority crumbling under the weight of internal discord. For Justinian, the situation in Italy presented both a challenge and an opportunity. His dream of restoring the Roman Empire to its former glory, his Renovatio Imperii, could not be realized without the reclamation of Italy, the heartland of the ancient empire. The significance of Italy to the Byzantine Empire was not merely strategic, but deeply symbolic. Rome, with its centuries-old legacy as the centre of the Roman world, held immense cultural and historical importance. To reclaim Italy was to reclaim the soul of the empire, to assert that the Roman Empire had not truly fallen, but merely transformed and endured in the East. Justinian, with his unyielding determination and boundless ambition, saw the reconquest of Italy as essential to his imperial project. The weakness of the Ostrogothic kingdom, combined with the instability in Italy, offered him the perfect pretext to launch a military campaign aimed at bringing Italy back under Roman control. The first step in Justinian's grand design was the invasion of Sicily in 535 AD, a strategic move that would pave the way for the Byzantine advance into mainland Italy. Sicily, located at the crossroads of the Mediterranean, was of immense strategic importance. It served as a vital supply base and a launching point for operations in Italy. Belisarius, who had already proven his military genius in the Vandalic War, was chosen to lead the invasion. He was given command of a relatively small but highly disciplined force, consisting of both Byzantine regulars and mercenaries. Belisarius's invasion of Sicily was a masterclass in swift and decisive military action. The island, which was defended by a modest Ostrogothic garrison, fell quickly to the Byzantines. The local population, weary of Gothic rule and eager for change, largely welcomed Belisarius and his troops. By the end of the year, the entire island was securely in Byzantine hands, providing a crucial foothold for the campaign in Italy. With Sicily under control, Belisarius turned his attention to southern Italy. His next objective was to secure the key cities that would serve as staging grounds for the advance on Rome. The campaign in southern Italy, like the invasion of Sicily, was marked by a series of rapid successes. Belisarius's forces moved northward with remarkable speed, encountering only sporadic resistance from the Ostrogoths. The cities of Naples, Capua, and Benevento were the primary targets. These cities, strategically located along the coast and major inland routes, were critical to controlling the flow of troops and supplies throughout the region. The capture of Naples, however, would prove to be one of the most challenging and significant events of the early campaign. Naples, a well-fortified city with a strong Ostrogothic garrison, resisted the Byzantine advance with unexpected tenacity. The siege of Naples, which began in late 536 AD, was a grueling and protracted affair that tested the limits of Belisarius's skill and the endurance of his troops. The city's defenders, aware of the strategic importance of Naples, fought fiercely to repel the invaders. The terrain around the city, with its steep hills and narrow approaches, gave the defenders a natural advantage, making it difficult for Belisarius to deploy his forces effectively. The siege dragged on for months, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. Belisarius, known for his patience and tactical acumen, refused to give up. He understood that the fall of Naples was crucial to the success of the entire campaign in Italy. Without control of Naples, the Byzantines would struggle to maintain their supply lines and consolidate their hold on southern Italy. To break the stalemate, Belisarius employed a combination of direct direct assaults and psychological warfare, attempting to wear down the defenders through constant pressure and the threat of starvation. The siege became a test of wills, with the Ostrogothic defenders and the Byzantine attackers locked in a bitter struggle for control of the city. In a stroke of brilliance, Belisarius decided to exploit the city's ancient infrastructure to gain the upper hand. He ordered his engineers to locate and utilize an old Roman aqueduct that led into the city. The aqueduct, which had long since fallen into disrepair, provided a narrow but accessible route into the heart of Naples. Under the cover of darkness, Belisarius sent a small contingent of his best troops through the aqueduct. These soldiers, emerging inside the city, launched a surprise attack on the Ostrogothic garrison, catching them off guard and causing panic among the defenders. The sudden breach in the city's defences led to the rapid collapse of resistance, and by the morning, Naples was in Byzantine hands. The fall of Naples was a turning point in the Gothic War. The city's capture not only secured a vital stronghold for the Byzantines, but also sent a clearer message to the rest of Italy. The Byzantine Empire was determined to reclaim the lands that had once belonged to Rome, and it possessed both the will and the capability to do so. The loss of Naples was a significant blow to the Ostrogoths, who now faced the prospect of a full-scale Byzantine invasion of mainland Italy. The city's strategic location on the western coast of Italy made it a critical hub for the movement of troops and supplies, and its fall opened the door for further Byzantine advances into the heart of the peninsula. The success of the initial campaigns in Sicily and southern Italy set the stage for the next phase of the war. The march on Rome itself, for Belisarius and his troops. The capture of Naples was a major victory, but it was only the beginning of a much larger and more challenging campaign. The road to Rome lay ahead, and with it, the opportunity to achieve one of the most significant objectives of Justinian's entire reign: the restoration of Roman authority in the city that had once ruled the world. The siege of Naples, with its difficulties and eventual triumph, highlighted the challenges that Belisarius would continue to face in the Gothic War. The campaign in Italy was not just a series of battles, but a complex and multifaceted conflict that required not only military strength, but also diplomatic skill, strategic foresight, and an understanding of the political and cultural landscape of the region. As Belisarius prepared to lead his forces toward Rome, he knew that the capture of the Eternal City would be a crucial step in the Byzantine reconquest of Italy, but it would also bring new challenges and tests of his leadership. The Gothic War, far from being a straightforward campaign, would soon reveal the depths of the challenges facing the Byzantine Empire in its quest to restore the Roman world. With Naples now under Byzantine control, the path to Rome was open, but the road ahead was fraught with danger. Belisarius, ever the determined and resourceful commander, would need to draw on all his experience and skill to navigate the trials that lay ahead as the war for Italy entered its most critical phase. The capture of Rome marked a pivotal moment in the Gothic War, a moment charged with both symbolic and strategic importance. As Belisarius led his forces on the march towards the Eternal City, the significance of the mission weighed heavily on him and his troops. Rome, once the heart of the Roman Empire, had long since lost its political primacy, but it remained a potent symbol of imperial power and cultural heritage. For Justinian, the reclamation of Rome was more than just a military objective. It was an essential part of his grand vision to restore the Roman Empire to its former glory. The march to Rome was not merely a military campaign. It was a journey steeped in the legacy of centuries, one that would reverberate through history. As Belisarius approached the city in December 536 AD, the Ostrogoths, who controlled Rome, were already deeply demoralized. The swift fall of Naples and the rapid advance of Byzantine forces had left them in disarray. Their king, Vitiges, preoccupied with defending Ravenna, the Gothic capital, had left Rome poorly defended. Sensing an opportunity, Belisarius moved quickly to seize the city before the Goths could mount a proper defence. The residents of Rome, many of whom still held a deep-seated affinity for their ancient imperial heritage, were more than willing to open the gates to the Byzantine general, viewing him as a liberator rather than a conqueror. On December 9th, 536 AD, Belisarius entered Rome, taking control of the city with little resistance. The sight of the Byzantine banners flying over the city's ancient walls must have been a powerful image for the inhabitants, a vivid reminder of their past, and a hopeful sign of a new future. Belisarius was acutely aware of the symbolic significance of his victory. He made a point of treating the city and its inhabitants with respect, avoiding the looting and destruction that so often accompanied the capture of a city. His entry into Rome was conducted with the solemnity and reverence befitting the occasion. By restoring Byzantine authority in Rome, Belisarius not only secured a vital strategic position, but also fulfilled a key part of Justinian's ambition to reunite the old Roman heartlands under a single rule. However, the capture of Rome was only the beginning of a much larger and grueling struggle. The Ostrogoths, though stunned by the loss of Rome, were far from defeated. Recognizing the city's strategic and symbolic importance, King Vitiges quickly regrouped his forces and launched a counter-offensive. In March 537 AD, barely 3 months after Belisarius had taken the city, the Ostrogoths laid siege to Rome in a bid to reclaim their lost territory. What followed was one of the most intense and prolonged sieges of the era, a battle of wills that would test the endurance of both the besiegers and the defenders. The siege of Rome was a grueling affair that lasted for over a year, from March 537 to March 538 AD. The Ostrogoths, determined to recapture the city, encircled Rome with a vast army, cutting off all supply routes and attempting to starve the defenders into submission. Inside the city, Belisarius and his troops faced a dire situation. Food and supplies quickly dwindled, and the threat of disease loomed large as the siege dragged on. Yet, despite these hardships, Belisarius remained resolute. His experience and strategic brilliance came to the fore as he organized the defense with meticulous care. Belisarius understood that the key to withstanding the siege lay in maintaining the morale of his troops and the civilian population. He implemented a series of defensive strategies designed to harass and frustrate the Ostrogoths. One of his most effective tactics was the use of sorties, small, targeted attacks launched from within the city to disrupt the besieging forces. These sorties, often conducted under the cover of night, inflicted significant damage on the Ostrogothic lines, weakening their resolve and buying the defenders crucial time. Belisarius also strengthened the city's fortifications, repairing walls and towers, and setting up watchtowers to keep constant vigilance over the enemy's movements. The Ostrogoths, despite their numerical superiority, found themselves increasingly frustrated by Belisarius's tactics. Their attempts to breach the city's defences were repelled time and again, often with heavy losses. The harsh winter of 538 AD only added to their woes, as cold and hunger began to take their toll on the besieging army. The Gothic forces, unable to break through the city's defences and suffering from dwindling supplies, gradually lost their initial momentum. As the siege wore on, Belisarius received reinforcements from Constantinople, bolstering his position. These fresh troops not only replenished the ranks of the beleaguered defenders, but also brought much-needed supplies. With the arrival of reinforcements, Belisarius was able to launch a more aggressive series of counterattacks. One of the most significant of these was the battle at the Milvian Bridge, where Belisarius's forces inflicted a decisive defeat on a large contingent of Ostrogoths, forcing them to retreat. This victory marked a turning point in the siege, weakening the Gothic stranglehold on the city and boosting the morale of the defenders. By March 538 AD, it was clear that the Ostrogoths could not sustain the siege any longer. Their forces were depleted, their morale shattered, and their supply lines cut off. Recognizing the futility of continuing the siege, Vitiges finally ordered a withdrawal, lifting the siege of Rome and retreating north to regroup at Ravenna. The lifting of the siege was a monumental victory for Belisarius and the Byzantine Empire. Rome, the Eternal City, had withstood one of the most significant threats in its long history, thanks to the determination and leadership of Belisarius. The successful defence of Rome was not just a military triumph. It was a powerful statement that the Byzantine Empire, under Justinian's rule, was capable of holding its own against any foe. With the siege lifted, Belisarius turned his attention to the final phase of the war, the march on Ravenna, the Ostrogothic capital. Ravenna, located in the marshy lowlands of northern Italy, was a formidable stronghold, protected by both natural defences and well-built fortifications. However, the fall of Rome and the failure of the siege had severely weakened the Ostrogothic position. Vitiges, who had staked everything on the recapture of Rome, was now on the defensive, his forces demoralised and scattered. The key battles leading up to the fall of Ravenna were marked by Belisarius's characteristic blend of tactical brilliance and psychological warfare. One of the most significant engagements was the Battle of Bustagalorum in 552 AD, where the Byzantine forces, under the command of Belisarius, met the Ostrogoths in open combat. Despite being outnumbered, Belisarius once again demonstrated his mastery of battlefield tactics. He deployed his troops in a series of flanking manoeuvres designed to outmaneuver and encircle the Gothic forces. Belisarius' strategy ultimately prevailed. The Ostrogoths, unable to withstand the pressure from the Byzantine flanks, were forced into a chaotic retreat. The defeat at Bustagalorum was a catastrophic blow to the Ostrogoths. With their forces in disarray, the road to Ravenna was now open to the Byzantines. Belisarius, recognizing the importance of maintaining momentum, wasted no time in advancing on the Gothic capital. As the Byzantine army approached Ravenna, the situation inside the city became increasingly desperate. Witiges, realizing that he could not hold out against a determined siege, began to negotiate for peace. However, Belisarius, ever the shrewd strategist, used the negotiations as a means to sow discord among the Ostrogothic leadership. He offered favourable terms to certain factions within the Gothic ranks, promising them positions of power if they surrendered the city to him. The strategy worked. Divided and demoralised, the Ostrogothic leadership splintered. In May 540 AD, Ravenna fell to the Byzantines without a fight. Witiges, along with the remaining Gothic leaders, was captured and brought before Belisarius. The fall of Ravenna marked the end of organised Ostrogothic resistance in Italy. The once mighty kingdom that had ruled over Italy for nearly 60 years was no more. As the dust settled after the fall of Ravenna and the capture of Vitiges, Belisarius found himself at the height of his military career. He had accomplished what many thought impossible: the reclamation of Italy for the Byzantine Empire. However, even in the wake of such a monumental victory, new and unexpected challenges began to emerge. The Gothic War, while a significant triumph, had left Italy in a state of ruin and instability. The long years of conflict had devastated the countryside, crippled the economy, and left the population exhausted and resentful. The task of restoring order and integrating Italy back into the Byzantine Empire was proving to be as difficult as the war itself. Belisarius, despite his battlefield successes, faced significant opposition from within the Byzantine court. His victories had earned him widespread admiration, but they had also fueled jealousy and fear among the powerful factions in Constantinople. Key figures within the court, wary of Belisarius's growing influence and fearing that his success might make him too powerful, began to undermine his position. These rivals spread rumours, questioning his loyalty to Justinian and casting doubt on his intentions. The emperor, already known for his suspicious nature, began to view Belisarius with a degree of mistrust, further complicating the general's ability to govern the newly conquered territories effectively. In addition to the political intrigues, Belisarius faced the daunting task of maintaining control over a war-torn Italy. The local populations, who had initially welcomed the Byzantines as liberators, quickly grew disillusioned with the harsh realities of Byzantine rule. Heavy taxation, imposed to replenish the empire's depleted coffers and to fund further military campaigns, sparked resentment and unrest. The once celebrated return of Roman authority began to feel like an imposition to many Italians who had hoped for peace and stability after years of Gothic rule, but instead found themselves under a new and unfamiliar regime. Rebellions soon broke out across various regions of Italy, fueled by local grievances and the the opportunism of former Gothic leaders who saw a chance to reclaim power. These uprisings, though ultimately suppressed by Belisarius and his loyal troops, highlighted the fragility of Byzantine control in Italy. Each rebellion required a military response, further stretching the already thin resources of the Byzantine administration and delaying the much-needed reconstruction efforts. The continuous unrest made it clear that while the military campaign had succeeded in defeating the Ostrogoths, the challenge of truly restoring and maintaining Byzantine authority in Italy was far from over. Belisarius's difficulties were compounded by the fact that many of the promises made to secure the loyalty of the Italian cities during the war were difficult to fulfill in the post-war reality. The Byzantine Empire, still engaged on multiple fronts and with its resources stretched thin, struggled to provide the support and protection that these regions had been promised. The resulting discontent made the task of governance increasingly precarious, with local leaders and populations frequently questioning the benefits of Byzantine rule. Despite these challenges, Belisarius remained steadfast in his loyalty to Justinian and his commitment to the imperial mission. His ability to navigate the complex and often treacherous political landscape of the Byzantine court, while simultaneously managing the difficult situation in Italy, demonstrated his remarkable resilience and dedication. Yet, the strain of these internal challenges began to take its toll. The same court, intrigues and suspicions that had once marred his earlier campaigns resurfaced, leading to a gradual erosion of his influence and authority in the imperial administration. As Belisarius struggled to maintain control over Italy and address the ongoing rebellions, the broader geopolitical landscape continued to shift. The Byzantine Empire, while still strong, was being drawn into new conflicts on other fronts. The eastern frontier, always a source of tension, was becoming increasingly unstable. The Sassanid Persians, longtime rivals of the Byzantine Empire, were once again preparing to challenge Roman dominance in the east. This emerging threat would soon require the full attention of the empire and its greatest general, setting the stage for yet another chapter in Belisarius's storied career. The Persian Wars, a series of protracted and complex conflicts between the Byzantine Empire and the Sasanian Empire, formed a crucial chapter in the reign of Justinian the Hun and the military career of Belisarius. The Sasanian Empire, with its rich cultural heritage and formidable military power, was the last great Persian dynasty before the rise of Islam. Founded in 224 AD by Ardashir III, the Sasanian Empire had long been the principal rival to the Roman Empire, engaging in numerous wars over the centuries. These conflicts were fueled by territorial disputes, religious differences, and the ambitions of powerful rulers on both sides. The Sasanian capital, Ctesiphon, was a city of immense wealth and strategic importance, serving as a hub for the empire's military operations and its intricate network of trade routes that stretched across Asia. By the time of Justinian's ascension in 527 AD, relations between Byzantium and the Sasanian Empire were tense, marked by a fragile peace that could be easily shattered by the ambitions of either side. The Sasanian Empire, under the rule of King Khosrow, was at the height height of its power. Khosrow, known as Anushirvan, or the Immortal Soul, was a ruler of great vision and determination. He sought to expand his empire's influence and to challenge Byzantine dominance in the Near East. The eastern frontier of the Byzantine Empire, stretching from the Caucasus to the deserts of Arabia, was a region of constant military tension, where the two great empires clashed repeatedly over control of strategic territories. These regions, particularly the fertile lands of Mesopotamia and the mountainous kingdom of Iberia, modern-day Georgia, were of immense strategic importance, serving as both buffer zones and gateways for invasions. The conflict that came to be known as the Iberian War was ignited by a dispute over the Kingdom of Iberia, a small but strategically vital region in the Caucasus. Iberia had long been a client state of the Byzantine Empire, but in the early 6th century, the Sasanian Empire sought to bring it under their control, leading to a direct confrontation with Byzantium. The war, which began in 526 AD, was a complex struggle for influence in the region. The mountainous terrain of Iberia made it a challenging theatre of war, with both sides struggling to gain the upper hand in a series of skirmishes and sieges. For the Byzantine Empire, holding Iberia was essential to maintaining control over the Caucasus and protecting the empire's eastern provinces from Persian incursions. Belisarius, who had already distinguished himself in other theatres of war, was entrusted with the defence of the eastern provinces. Although his role in the Iberian War was initially limited, his presence on the eastern frontier was a testament to Justinian's confidence in his abilities. Belisarius's task was to protect the vulnerable Byzantine territories from Persian advances and to ensure that the empire's defensive lines held firm. His efforts in this regard laid the groundwork for the more significant engagements that were to follow, as the war between the two empires escalated into a broader conflict. One of the most famous battles of Belisarius's career, and indeed one of the most significant in the Persian wars, was the siege of Dara in 530 AD. Dara, a fortress city located near the Byzantine-Persian border, was of critical strategic importance. It served as a bulwark against Persian incursions into the Byzantine heartland and was a symbol of Byzantine strength in the region. The Sasanians, eager to assert their dominance, launched an assault on Dara with a massive army, intent on capturing the city and breaking the Byzantine defences. Belisarius, tasked with the defence of Dara, faced a daunting challenge. The Sasanian forces, led by a seasoned general named Firuz, were numerically superior and well equipped. However, Belisarius's tactical genius once again proved decisive. Understanding the importance of both the terrain and the morale of his troops, he devised a clever defensive strategy that played to his strengths. He ordered the construction of a trench in front of the city's walls, creating a formidable obstacle for the advancing Persian forces. This trench, combined with the strategic placement of his troops, allowed Belisarius to control the battlefield and channel the Persian assault into narrow killing zones. When the Persians launched their attack, they were met with fierce resistance. Belisarius's forces, though outnumbered, fought with determination and discipline, using the trench and the city's fortifications to devastating effect. The Persian assaults were repeatedly repelled, and Firuz's for the Byzantines, with the Persian forces withdrawing in disarray. The victory at Dara was not only a testament to Belisarius's military acumen, but also a significant boost to Byzantine morale. It demonstrated that the empire could stand up to the might of the Sasanian Empire and hold its ground on the eastern frontier. However, the Persian wars were far from over, and the challenges continued to mount for the Byzantine forces. The following year, in 531 AD, Belisarius faced another major confrontation with the Sasanian Empire at the Battle of Callinicum. This battle, fought near the Euphrates River, presented a stark contrast to the triumph at Dara. The Byzantine forces, although well prepared, faced several challenges, including difficult terrain, harsh weather conditions, and the relentless pressure of the Persian army. Belisarius, ever the resourceful commander, attempted to use the terrain to his advantage, positioning his troops on a ridge overlooking the battlefield. However, the Persian forces, under the command of Azarethis, launched a fierce and well-coordinated assault that overwhelmed the Byzantine defences. The Battle of Callinicum was a brutal and bloody affair, with heavy casualties on both sides. Despite Belisarius's efforts, the Byzantines were ultimately forced to retreat, marking a rare defeat for the renowned general. The battle was a sobering reminder of the formidable challenge posed by the Sasanian Empire and the difficulties of waging war in the harsh and unpredictable conditions of the eastern frontier. Nevertheless, Belisarius's leadership during the battle, particularly his ability to organise an orderly retreat and minimise further losses, ensured that the defeat did not turn into a complete disaster. The Battle of Callinicum, while a setback, highlighted the resilience and adaptability of Belisarius and his troops in the face of overwhelming odds. The Persian wars dragged on, draining the resources and morale of both empires. The constant state of warfare took a heavy toll on the population and the economy, leading to growing pressure for a resolution. In 532 AD, both sides, weary of the conflict and recognising the mutual benefits of peace, entered into negotiations that culminated in the signing of the Endless Peace Treaty. The treaty, while not a complete end to hostilities, brought a temporary halt to the fighting and established a new status quo along the Byzantine-Persian frontier. The terms of the Endless Peace were significant for both empires. The Byzantines agreed to pay a substantial annual tribute to the Sasanian Empire in exchange for peace and the retention of certain key territories, including Dara. The treaty also allowed for the resumption of trade and the exchange of prisoners, helping to stabilise the region and reduce the immediate threat of further conflict. For Justinian, the treaty was a pragmatic solution that allowed him to refocus the empire's resources on other pressing matters, such as the ongoing conflicts in the West. The Endless Peace brought a measure of stability to the eastern borders of the Byzantine Empire, but it was a fragile peace that could be easily disrupted by the ambitions of future rulers. Nevertheless, it marked the end of one of the most challenging periods in Belisarius's military career. The Persian Wars had tested his skills as a commander and his ability to navigate the complex and shifting dynamics of a multi-front conflict. The experience gained on the eastern frontier would serve him well in the years to come, as he faced new challenges and embarked on the final chapter of his storied career. As the Byzantine Empire enjoyed a brief respite from the threat of Persian aggression, Belisarius would soon find himself once again called upon to serve his emperor, this time in a role that would shape his legacy and define his later years. After years of relentless campaigning across distant lands, Belisarius returned to Constantinople, the heart of the Byzantine Empire, in 540 AD. The city, with its majestic walls and bustling streets, must have been both a welcome sight and a stark contrast to the battlefields that had defined much of his life. His return to the capital was marked by a hero's reception. He was celebrated as one of the greatest generals in Roman history, a man who had reclaimed vast territories for the empire and secured Justinian's dream of a restored Roman glory. However, despite the accolades and triumphs, his relationship with Justinian was complicated by the undercurrents of court intrigue and suspicion. Justinian, ever the shrewd and calculating ruler, recognised Belisarius's unparalleled military prowess, but was also wary of the general's growing popularity and influence. The emperor's court was a hotbed of jealousy and political manoeuvring, where even the most loyal servants could find themselves the target of suspicion. Despite these tensions, Justinian continued to rely on Belisarius's skills, tasking him with the defence of the empire against both internal and external threats. Belisarius, ever dutiful, accepted these responsibilities with the same steadfastness that had characterised his entire career. His role in safeguarding the empire, particularly in times of crisis, underscored the emperor's recognition of his indispensable value, even as the two men navigated the delicate balance of power between them. One of the most dramatic moments in Belisarius's career came with the Nika riots in 532 AD, a violent uprising that nearly toppled Justinian's rule. Although the riots occurred before Belisarius's return from his Persian campaigns, they were a defining episode in his service to the emperor. The Nika riots, sparked by deep-seated public grievances and the fierce rivalry between the city's chariot racing factions, quickly spiralled out of control, leading to widespread destruction and bloodshed in Constantinople. The rioters, emboldened by their numbers and the apparent indecision of the imperial authorities, even proclaimed a rival emperor, threatening the very foundations of Justinian's reign. In this moment of crisis, Justinian turned to Belisarius, who, along with the general Mundus, was ordered to crush the rebellion and restore order. The task was daunting. The streets of Constantinople were filled with tens of thousands of rioters, many of them armed and willing to fight to the death. Belisarius, however, approached the situation with the same tactical brilliance that had served him so well on the battlefield. Leading a contingent of loyal troops, he launched a decisive assault on the hippodrome, where the core of the rebellion had gathered. The ensuing battle was fierce, but Belisarius's forces, disciplined and determined, overwhelmed the rioters. The slaughter was brutal, with thousands of rebels killed, but the rebellion was quelled, and Justinian's throne was secured. The significance of the Nika riots cannot be overstated. They were a turning point in Justinian's reign, demonstrating both the volatility of the empire's internal politics and the emperor's reliance on military force to maintain Belisarius, the successful suppression of the riots solidified his reputation as the empire's foremost general, capable of defending not only its borders, but also its very heart. The aftermath of the riots saw a consolidation of Justinian's power, and Belisarius's role in this victory further cemented his position as one of the most trusted figures in the empire, even as his relationship with the emperor remained complex. As the years passed, Belisarius continued to serve the empire in various capacities, undertaking several more military campaigns that further tested his abilities and resilience. One of his final significant military engagements occurred in 559 AD, when he was called upon to defend Constantinople against a horde of Kutrakor Huns who had crossed the Danube and threatened the capital itself. Despite his advancing age and a reduced force at his disposal, Belisarius once again rose to the occasion. Using a combination of strategic positioning and psychological warfare, he managed to rout the invaders, saving Constantinople from what could have been a devastating sack. This victory, though not as grand as his earlier triumphs, was a fitting testament to his enduring military genius and his unwavering dedication to the empire. Following this last great victory, Belisarius's career gradually wound down. He was granted a retirement, living out his final years in relative obscurity compared to the glories of his past. Yet, even in retirement, he remained a figure of immense respect and admiration within the empire. His contributions to the Byzantine state were undeniable. He had expanded its borders, defended it from formidable enemies, and played a crucial role in some of the most critical moments of Justinian's reign. Belisarius's legacy was that of a soldier's soldier, loyal, courageous, and unfailingly committed to his duty, even in the face of political intrigue and personal hardship. As he looked back on a life filled with both triumphs and trials, Belisarius's thoughts must have turned to the legacy he would leave behind, not just as a general, but as a servant of the empire. Yet, despite all he had accomplished, the final years of his life would bring new challenges and reflections on the fleeting nature of power and the enduring impact of his service to Rome. The story of Belisarius is one of extraordinary military genius, unwavering loyalty, and a legacy that has echoed through the centuries. Over the course of his career, Belisarius achieved what few generals in history have ever accomplished. He led successful campaigns across 3 continents, from the deserts of North Africa to the heart of Italy, and from the battle-scarred plains of the Persian frontier to the very gates of Constantinople. His victories were not merely battles won, they were pivotal moments that shaped the course of the Byzantine Empire, securing its borders, expanding its influence, and reaffirming its status as the heir to Rome. Belisarius's military achievements stand as a testament to his strategic brilliance and adaptability. Whether facing the disciplined ranks of the Sasanian Persians at Dara, the fierce resistance of the Ostrogoths in Italy, or the tumultuous chaos of the Nika riots in Constantinople, Belisarius consistently demonstrated his ability to outthink and outmaneuver his enemies. His tactics, such as the trench defences at Dara, or the use of psychological warfare during the defence of Constantinople, showcased a deep understanding of the complexities of warfare and the importance of both preparation and innovation. What truly set Belisarius apart was his steadfast dedication to the empire and to Justinian, even when the political winds in Constantinople turned against him. In the annals of military history, Belisarius is often ranked among the greatest generals of all time. His name is mentioned alongside figures like Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, and Napoleon Bonaparte, not only for his battlefield successes, but also for the qualities of character he exhibited throughout his career. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Belisarius remained loyal to his emperor, never once attempting to seize power for himself, despite having the opportunity and the support of his troops to do so. This rare combination of military brilliance and personal integrity has earned him a place of honour in the history of the Byzantine Empire and in the broader narrative of the Roman world. His reputation as a general is matched only by the respect he commands as a man who embodied the virtues of a true Roman soldier. Yet, the story of Belisarius is also intertwined with the broader ambitions of Justinian, whose vision of restoring the Roman Empire to its former glory drove much of the conflict and expansion during his reign. Justinian's goal was nothing short of the reconstitution of the Roman world, a feat that would require not only military might but also political cunning, economic resources, and a deep commitment to the Roman legacy. Under Justinian's direction, the Byzantine Empire embarked on a series of ambitious campaigns to reclaim lost territories in the west, including North Africa, Italy, and parts of Spain. These wars, often referred to as the Wars of Justinian, were intended to reverse the decline of the Roman world and to reassert Byzantine supremacy over the Mediterranean. However, the outcomes of Justinian's ambitions were mixed. While his campaigns, particularly those led by Belisarius, achieved remarkable territorial gains, they also came at a significant cost. The constant warfare drained the empire's resources, stretched its military thin, and left many of the reclaimed territories in a state of ruin. The Gothic War in Italy, for example, while successful in terms of reclaiming the peninsula, left the region devastated and economically weakened, setting the stage for further conflicts and difficulties in maintaining Byzantine control. The reconquest of North Africa, though initially successful, also faced challenges in terms of governance and integration, with the local populations often resistant to Byzantine rule. In the long term, the Wars of Justinian had profound consequences for the Byzantine Empire. While they temporarily expanded the empire's borders and reaffirmed its connection to the Roman past, they also exposed the limits of imperial power and the challenges of sustaining a vast and diverse empire. The financial strain of these wars contributed to economic difficulties that would plague the empire for decades, and the political instability they generated in newly conquered regions often required ongoing military intervention. Furthermore, the focus on Western conquests diverted attention and resources from other critical areas, particularly the eastern frontier, where the threat from the Sasanian Empire remained ever present. Despite these challenges, Justinian's reign is remembered as a period of significant achievement, not only in terms of military conquest, but also in terms of legal reform, architectural innovation, and cultural revival. The Justinian Code, Belisarius, whose efforts made many of Justinian's ambitions possible. The complexities and contradictions of Justinian's reign and Belisarius's role within it offer a rich field for reflection on the nature of power, loyalty, and the costs of empire. As we conclude this exploration of Belisarius and the wars of Justinian, it's worth reflecting on the significance of these events and their lasting impact on the course of history. The story of Belisarius is not just a tale of military victories and heroic deeds. It is a story about the enduring struggle to balance power and integrity, ambition and loyalty. It invites us to consider the legacy of those who shape history, not only through their actions on the battlefield, but through their decisions, their character, and their dedication to a cause greater than themselves. I hope that this journey through the life and times of Belisarius has provided you with a deeper understanding of the Byzantine Empire, the challenges it faced, and the remarkable individuals who helped to define its legacy. Belisarius' story is one of triumph and tragedy, of victories hard won, and the inevitable complexities that accompany great ambition. As you think back on the events we've covered, consider the ways in which the lessons of the past continue to resonate in our world today, reminding us of the enduring relevance of history. If you've enjoyed this exploration and would like to delve deeper into other fascinating periods of history, I invite you to subscribe to the ASMR History channel. My channel is dedicated to bringing you detailed, relaxing, and immersive content that allows you to experience history in a whole new way. From the rise and fall of empires to the lives of extraordinary figures like Belisarius, there's always something new to discover. I have a lineup of upcoming videos that will take you on journeys through time, offering insights into the past that are both enlightening and soothing. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the life of Belisarius and the wars of Justinian. Your time and support mean a lot to me, and I hope that you found this experience as enjoyable as I did while creating it. Until